Thank you so much for having me on your channel, Kati. It was super fun filming with you. This was such an insane experience, but I really hope us talking about it can help others. Holds baby brain, throw it. This entire video perfectly describes my mother's personality. Some people don't deserve to be parents. Bad parents subconsciously groom their children to stay in abusive relationships with people. It's so incorrect for people to think that sensitive people are weak. It's the opposite. We are strong because we process and digest so much more than others, and we are still living in this world. When you want to diagnose a female with ASD, observe them in their homes. Personally, I act different in public than I do in my own home. This has left me quite damaged. I can't even be in a relationship. Friendships are so difficult. I feel useless and like I'm a burden. How is Drew doing? Some of us want to go to therapy but can't afford it. I'm just scared that anyone who likes me is trying to manipulate or trick me into something. It's not a good way of thinking, but it's how it is. It's $200 to book a therapist. It's free to tell yourself that it be like that sometimes. I feel it's rather smart that in your videos you refer to we when discussing these diagnoses. Pretty sure my therapist probably calls her therapist once she's done with me. She is still in massive denial. Her friend saved her life and she can't accept it. She needs a lot more help. I like that she says we, instead of saying they. Who else is here because they're depressed AF? My parents often say that I was such a well-behaved child. It's more like I learned that no matter what I said or did to get their attention, it just didn't matter, so I learned to not even try. What they saw as well-behaved was depression. What they saw as being low maintenance and introversion was social withdrawal. I think I need therapist. But I'm scared to tell my parents. They may judge me. I hate when people judge me. Even when someone is staring at me for no reasons. I think the difficulty empathizing with others isn't true for everyone. For me, it's the complete opposite. I'm so empathetic it hurts. My therapist was an empathetic sweetheart. Very soft-spoken, always professional and invested in helping you with your troubles, despite having a lot of her own. I remember telling her about my father in great detail, how controlling and potentially dangerous he was to live with. The real fear that he would murder us in the middle of the night. I had told people about him before, and the reaction I would get usually ranged from shock horror to vile disgust, or somewhere in between. Her reaction though? She was almost crying. At the time, I thought it was just sympathy. It wasn't, it was empathy. I just wish she told me. 2 months ago, I walked by a newspaper and discovered that she had died. Her ex-husband murdered her in her own home, after stalking and threatening her for the last 4 years. Leaving behind her family, 3 young children, countless friends, and a devastated town. It's quite common that helpful people seek to help others, because they know what it's like to feel helpless. I really respect people who can put aside their own dramas to give others a hand with theirs. I miss her. I hope she's at peace wherever she is. And I wish I could have thanked her for the help when it truly mattered. The picture in my icon was an actual painting I did for her. It was intended as a gift for her family, but it got lost in transition. I'm currently working on a replacement painting. Even after a year on, it still hurts sometimes. R.I.P. Samantha 3. Am I the only one feeling guilty for even just watching this video? Whenever I have the feeling that my patents are toxic, I feel guilt because I love them and they raised me and gave me everything, but still, toxic. I haven't self-harmed in 7 months. See, I'm scared to call. I'm afraid that I'll get in trouble or someone to show up at my door or something. The more you suppress the thoughts, the worse they become. I know it's scary and I know it makes you feel like a horrible or disgusting person, but don't feel like that. I'm not lying when I say probably anybody you ask will say they get those thoughts. Don't fight the thoughts, don't give them a reaction, don't get upset about them, that's what makes them stay. You're okay, I promise you. The fact that you find the thoughts disgusting and disturbing prove that you're a good person and know they're wrong. I believe in all of you. One of the things I've learned is don't confront your family about these emotions. They'll just undermine you and try to spin it so they're the victim. I think I have trouble putting myself out there. It's like I don't want to be known. I have projects, goals, and dreams, but can't pursue any of them because my own mind is stopping me. Just the act of posting a comment, even this one, is a hurdle. I often delete them when done. I don't need to say this. I'm not saying anything important, this doesn't add anything interesting to the conversation, what's the point? Someone will get hostile towards me, etc. I've been careful and quiet all my life. Keep to myself and stay introverted, like a hermit, a recluse at times. Accepted myself as I am, but now see that this might be something that I need to change in order to chase my dreams. But that's why any of us are here, right? To change. I may waste my time with this, or might not. But if anyone else reading this is going through this, you're not alone. I called a suicide hotline once, and will probably never do it ever again. This is because the person I was talking to said that they were obligated to report to the police everything that I told them. And they said that they could find out my address based on the phone number I called from. So, because of this, I feel that I can never trust any hotline like that ever again. 1. Tearful for no reason. 2. Thinking negatively about ourselves and others. 3. Slipping back to old unhealthy habits. 4. Our emotions control us. 5. Any thoughts of death or killing self. When did life get so funking complicated? Has anyone ever been afraid they would wake up one day and be a serial killer? Like you know you wouldn't do it and you know it is evil, but you fear becoming crazy and wanting to kill everyone. I am a psychologist and I am frustrated by the lack of hard research and resources for girls and women on the spectrum and their families. It is always a battle when a female child is identified with autism to even get the parents to believe it. They will say things like, but she's so verbal, or she's so bright, or but she has so many emotions. Getting people to stop believing the stereotype of the flat affect male child as the only way autism can look is a constant struggle. When I found out that everyone has these thoughts, it really helped. My own brain is torturing me. I wish everyone that's suffering could all have a pizza party together and realize that we're not alone. Smiley face. It's so disheartening to hear Eugenia only stayed for less than a month in inpatient and isn't continuing outpatient therapy. First sign of depression, watching this video at 2 a.m. I suffer in silence and no one knows. The worst part is when you suddenly feel positive and decide to actually change. Like cleaning your room, taking care of yourself, have a healthy routine, do something productive. But then you just end up in bed thinking of how depressed and incapable you are to do any of this. I'm so tired of this cycle. Edit. To all the people who find this relatable, I'm sorry. It sucks because it's so easy to feel alone. We got this. The way she tells the story is as she didn't need help and is still upset about that. Her mindset still seems unhealthy. Hate having social anxiety. Don't you just wish you could be like that person that can talk to anyone anytime anywhere? Does anyone else ever just cry or burst out into tears because of nothing? Anxiety sucks, makes your life a living hell. I understand why some people may seem concerned that Kati is contradicting herself by informing her friends about 5,150, but also seemingly supporting Eugenia's stance that it was traumatic and not always the best move. However, a couple of points. 1. Kati was informing them of the process, but didn't actively trigger it. She was trying to help a person in need in a professional and informative manner. That is her role. Point 2, in this video, she is clearly offering Eugenia unconditional positive regard, a fantastic therapeutic stance, and empathy. She is echoing back Eugenia's feelings and validating them. This is incredibly important, and would have helped Eugenia feel comfortable and heard. Kati aptly recognized that Eugenia did not feel listened to or heard throughout this process, so it was important for Kati to give Eugenia space to be heard, understood and validated in her experiences. Eugenia's feelings are valid, and she deserves the space to express them and know that she isn't wrong or bad for feeling them. Especially with something as complex as an eating disorder. This might come off as contradictory to Kati's prior involvement with her friends, but actually reflects Kati's skill and professionalism as a therapist. The last thing you want is to have someone numb up, become defensive and shut down on you. That would help absolutely nobody, least of all Eugenia. Kati handled this fantastically. My mother is very toxic. I'm at that point in life where I want nothing to do with her. She makes me miserable and makes me cry. She's verbally and emotionally abusive. The power duo is back. Eugenia in her own home, thank you for having me here. She's so wholesome. I refer to my upbringing as, I wasn't raised, I was housed and fed. To all my deaf and HOH friends, the closed captions for this video will be available this evening. Sorry for the delay, smiley face, I thought this was just called being dead inside. I really like how she says we instead of they. Does anyone else watch these videos and feel like they connect with the symptoms but then tell themselves that they don't have depression because they don't have it as bad as others and that they don't want to admit to it? This might have not made any sense, but if it did, let me know. I'm not alone.